Welcome to the Spirit of a Badass, where we celebrate stories of courage, hope, and resiliency. I am your host, Alecia Jacobson.
Hello, hello, hello. How are we doing? We are season 3 starting now. Go. Kind of exciting and weird. Like, it doesn't seem like it's been that long, but it's actually like we've been here a bit. So thank you. I feel really grateful and, just grateful, I guess, is what it is that I get to do this. And I get to hear all of your stories and messages. And I'm really excited for this season and sharing more stories. And we're going to dive into a lot of kind of women's health issues. So I'm really looking forward to that because, we need it. So me personally, I took a little break. It was chaos. Isn't that funny? It still is chaos in this house. School has officially started. I had one start several weeks ago. And so I'm still recording this. It's August. This won't come out until September. But then I dropped my son off at college yesterday, and my 2 little ones started school on the same day. Let me tell you, this whole college thing, it's weird. And I'm not going to cry while I say this. I have not cried today. However, I wanted to. And I was like, girl, keep your shit together. You don't have time for this right now. It was just, there's a lot of highs and lows. And I've heard this is so normal kind of leading up to it. And then the drop off day, you've got everything shoved in the car and driving. And my daughter came with also to drop him off. And we're leaving. And it went great. It went so easy and so great. And he is so ready. But we're leaving and he's walking us back to our car. And my daughter starts like walking faster towards our car. And she yells, shotgun. And then we all sort of exchange this look of, he's not coming back with us. And that was, I cried. My face just like, my eyes, it was like the emoji or the cartoon where it just starts like overflowing. That's what it was. But it was just a moment, but it was this weird realization. And then last night I'm going to bed and my brain is going, oh, I should check in with him to see when he's going to be home. Oh, wait, he's not going to be home. So weird, just weird. So that's this new space that I'm in of, I haven't texted really yet because I need to give space, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And I also have heard that this is normal. So I am here in this, I hate the term new normal, but that's fucking what it is. It is a new normal. And it's weird, just weird. There's no other word that I can think of is weird and exciting. And all of like, it's just this like so many emotions, like a tornado inside of feelings. And then I drive in and his car is still here. So just, it's wild. It is wild. Anyway, that's sort of my personal update. I also have some new programs that are starting, which kind of goes into today's episode. I have 2 groups that are starting in October. I have the Women's Circle, which is where we gather together as women in a small group on Zoom, and we work through the shit of life. We work through the amazingness of life. We set goals. You have the built-in accountability because we are continually coming together each week. I have been running these circles for, I think 4 years now. I have one that we still meet in the summertime. We moved to just once a month because, summer's crazy. But the amount of life that we experience together, and you're out there fucking doing life and shit is hard. And sometimes you don't have people or spaces to safely dump the shit that you're handling. And it's not like I'm not saying like shit isn't it's negative. I'm saying like we have life to work through and you need the spaces to be able to work through it. And that's what the Women's Circle is. It is for women who want to come together in community, who want to know that these people have my back. We have a chat that we keep going, and it's not like overly active chat because if you know me, Like, I will hold space for you and I will give all the things that you need, but it's not like over the top where it's going to suck energy. It's very much an energy giver. But if things happen during the week and you need to, ask for advice, or you want to share a win, or, we've got some birthday stuff going on in our chat right now, and just life things, goals. A lot of times people are saying like the accountability that we need, that happens in the chat. So it's a really neat community that we have in the circle. So that is one group that I have. And then I also have the GLP group that I'm doing, which this is a new one that I've never done. It's going to have a lot of similarities as the women's circle. However, it has the GLP component to it. Not medical by any means, because like I've said a bazillion times on here, not medical. I'm very good at staying in my lane. However, it is for women who do not have a community of people that they can bounce things off from, who maybe feel like, I've had so many women tell me since I shared my personal story, you're the only one I've told, or I only have told one person. And there's so much benefit that comes from that community and that sharing. And it's also to keep you, are you getting your fiber? Are you getting your protein? Are you eating the nutrients that you need to? Because if you don't have the same cues or whatever it is, how can we help support you? So that group is also starting in October, and that is for women who are considering doing it and want to nail down all of your habits ahead of time. Maybe you've already met with your practitioner, maybe you're waiting on your labs and you're going to do it. It's a 6-month group. So we'll go from October to March. We'll meet several times a month. The first 3 Tuesdays we'll meet of the month. And we'll work through all the things. So if you either are currently on a GLP, maybe you're microdosing, maybe you're regular dosing, maybe you're preparing to do it, but we are creating this foundation of health and also working through the mind fuck shit that happens because, we have kind of been inundated with, we're kind of undoing all of the things that we have been told about health. And when you add this kind of layer on top of it, it can just kind of mess with you a little bit. So it's just a safe place that we can come together and share what you're going through, maybe share recipe, all the things. But that also starts in October. So those are the new things I have starting. And then, of course, there's always the one-on-one coaching that I offer. And I will be offering, I have more time in my actual office in Verona, Wisconsin. So if you are local and you would like to do in person, hit me up for that. Otherwise, I work with people on the phone and on Zoom. So if that's something you're interested in, you can also find that on the website. But send me a message if you're interested in the groups. Registration opened last week of August. So let me know. Anyway, all right, let's get into today's episode. And we're talking about routines. This is a routine that I do, giving you this kind of episode starting in September, because I feel like it's such a time where we kind of get thrown into this whirlwind. Like September is crazy. I used to start my groups in September because it seemed like a natural time to start, but September and May are just fucking insane. Like, we don't know which way we're going. You've got this night and that night and back to school this, and now we need this, and just so many things that are calling for your attention, and you're kind of getting used to this new way. You've got probably a lot of transitions happening if you're in anywhere in the parenting game. I have a kid off at college. I've got one that's going to be starting to drive. So my life is going to look much different. Plus, I have the little ones where I'm still completely the person making sure everything is happening. So life transitions happen generally like seasonally. So I like to plan seasonally, but you might have new things that are changing. So today I'm just going to pose some questions to you about things that you can think about and hopefully set yourself up for a really good kind of end of the 2025 year and beginning of this new fall season. If you've got kids, this sort of school year, at least through winter break. Let's get you there. Okay. Although I don't want to think about that because I enjoy the summer. I hate winter. And I have no business living in Wisconsin because I don't like being cold. I just like being warm. Anyway, we got a plan for it, but I don't want to think about it. All right. So starting off, question number one is, are your old routines and systems still applicable? So a lot of times we default because it saves energy to what we know. And maybe you are used to defaulting to a system that is old and outdated, and you need a little revamp, sort of like your computer. You might need to run an update, and you might be running on an old system. And if that system is no longer serving you, you will fail. And that feels shitty, right? So let's fix that ahead of time so that that does not happen. And when you're kind of looking at the routines that worked before, do you still have that same lifestyle? Is your schedule still the same? What's different about it? Because you might need to prepare in a new way. Maybe you don't have to do school pickup anymore because you have a driver. Maybe there's sports after school. So you have to think about, okay, how is everybody going to eat when we are constantly on the run? That's a big one I hear from people, is not wanting to get drive-through food. And how do you prepare ahead of time? What does that look like? I saw one thing, it had to be on TikTok, about how they talk about a capsule wardrobe, but this was capsule cooking. And I was like, hot damn, I love that idea, because you have the visual of the capsule wardrobe where you have the few pieces and then you kind of weave things in. But essentially it was like, okay, what is your capsule for this week? If you have this certain protein, how can zhuzh it up for all of the week? And it was you can probably look it up on TikTok, capsule cooking, but it was a really neat concept, and kind of ditching the thinking of what you should be doing. I think that creeps in a lot at this time, of what works for other people, and really looking at your own life and how can you create a system that works for you. And it might take some trial and error. Just this morning, oh my goodness, I went to the gym and I shared this and I was just laughing. And I'm in no way, I'm not going to ever dog my husband on here. But so today's day 2, right? Day 1 was yesterday of school starting, and he has to be on morning drop off because, well, one yesterday I was dropping off at college, so I wasn't even home. And then my daughter that I need to take, she's going to be 16 soon. So I have to drive with her to school because her school is in an area that has a lot of traffic, pedestrian traffic and car traffic, and the sun's in your eyes. And I need her to be driving this route. So this morning I'm leaving with her and I tell him, I'm like, he's sitting down on the couch having his coffee. And I had just gotten the girls up and they need to get going. I was like, you might have to get up now and start getting them ready. And he goes, oh, I thought school started at such and such a time. And I'm like, the fuck? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And I know that school schedules change all the time, but he was 30 minutes off. He was 30 minutes later. And I was just like, I got to go. And we need a fall meeting is what I actually said. But I'm thinking, were they late on the first day? So it's things like that where you need to work out the kinks. And I did it with I started laughing. I was just like, I don't have time for this right now. We need to get a fall meeting on the calendar. And if you haven't listened to my episode on the family meetings, definitely listen to it. I don't know what episode it is, but literally life changing. And like I said, we have been in chaos. So we have not prepared for our fall meeting in August, but I thought that was so funny. So have a little bit of humor with it, and like the expectations of shit's going to go wrong, which we'll talk about later. And how are you going to handle it? But yeah, I was like, dude, like we got to have the start times down. So yeah, we'll have our meeting and we'll get it. But it's looking at, okay, what kind of system do you want to create? What's important to you in this system? Do you need to worry about food, drop off times, and who can you ask for help? Because that's a huge support. So as you're getting back to it, kind of reflect back on, are the routines that you have normally used going to work? And if not, what needs to change different? And that leads us into the next one, is how can you get rid of things that are no longer helpful? And maybe this is, a lot of people have like these ideals of this needs to happen. Like this is the right way to do it. And perhaps some of those need to go. Perhaps you can kind of redefine. I know in the women's circle at one point we were talking about like once your kids get a little bit older, it gets a little chaotic. Or maybe you have work where you work late and you don't get to have meals together. And the ladies, they came up with this idea of having this like dessert bar together, like a Sunday station, and having that be sort of the communal family time once a week, because dinners was like, okay, this person's going and this person's going, and you kind of have it like a free for all of the different meals. And that together time was really important to her, as it is for most people. And she found a very creative way to have this coming together when the traditional idea of what we kind of think of, right, which is dinner, eating dinners together, wasn't happening. So what can you get rid of? Maybe in this case, getting rid of we are wrong if we're not having meals together. So if that was the case, how can you still have that togetherness? Because what's actually important there? It's not the food. The food isn't the important part. The important part is the togetherness. So how can togetherness look different? So what is no longer helpful? And you can apply that to anything. If you look at it and you think, oh, like this is causing me a great deal of stress. I'm really putting a lot of time and energy into the morning routine of getting everybody up and out the door. And one of the things, this is my hack, is my kids, well, one of them doesn't anymore because she's older, but I would get my kids, they would be dressed for the next day at night, which sounds absolutely ridiculous, but it was insane in the mornings. And like, it was just, it was too much. And that was one thing that I didn't have to worry about doing then in the morning. They would shower at night, get ready, do all the things, and then they were just ready in the morning. We just had to do hair and breakfast and brush teeth, and then we could go, which still, that sounds like it shouldn't take very long. That was still like a 45-minute process. So looking at things differently, taking off the lens of how it should look or kind of this ideal version of it. Because if that isn't going to work, if that's going to cause you more stress, then look at it differently. What's important? And for me, what was important was a smooth morning where I wasn't yelling at everybody to hurry the fuck up and get in the car. I didn't say that, but you get the idea, because in your head, that's what you're saying, because you know, wear your shoes. They are where you put them. And if you didn't put them where they belong, I don't know how to help you. Right. So what was important to me was having a smooth morning. And so I'm looking at like, how can I make this happen? What needs to be different so that we can have a morning where I am not like, my ring hasn't told me, are you stressed right now? Do you need a break? Because it shouldn't be. I know it will be a little bit, but figure out what at the root is important to you, what you need, and then create a system around that. But if there's things that you're doing or you think you should be doing, just get that shit out of there. You don't need it. It's doing more harm than good, most likely. All right. What needs to happen? Question number 3. What needs to happen to kind of get you going? What do you need to do? So I already said, I told my husband this morning, we need to have a fall meeting. So that's what needs to happen in our house. What do you need to do so that you can get ready for this new routine? Do you need to look at gym classes, exercise classes that you want to take? Or do you need to actually sit down with the calendar and look at the times? And I'm guessing that you have, but sometimes you just avoid that stuff because it's like, oh, another thing that you have to do. But what needs to happen so that you can get this routine going? Do you need to ask for help, which is a tricky one? Do you need to get some sort of maybe a meal service? One of the things that I started doing in the last couple of weeks was having I don't even know how to talk about my kids sometimes, my oldest of the younger two start to do her own laundry, because one of the time sucks for me is the amount of laundry that I have to do in a day. And we all know it's not the washing and the drying, it is the folding and fucking putting away, right? So I am having her now learn how to use the washing machine. She hasn't gotten quite past that yet, but being in charge of her own laundry, she's 10, so that in the morning, so this is kind of in the morning, where's this, mom? And I'm like, I cannot keep track of the shorts in that color that you want to wear today, or know if it's like, I need you to take some ownership of where your things are and are they clean. So that is what I know that's going to take many, many months. Like this is not, but we are just starting with, okay, you have your laundry basket, let's get it in the washer. And I'm still doing the rest. So this is a work in progress, but we are starting it because I cannot keep track of where all these clothes are. That is no longer something that I am willing to do. So that is something that I am working on with her. That is something that I am offloading and giving her that responsibility. And eventually I won't have to do that. And then I'll be working on it with my next kid. But that is going to help me have a little bit easier time by giving her that. And it's freaking good for them anyway. Right. But what do you need to do? What are the steps when you look at, your overall life? How are you going to do it? What needs to be different? Who can you get on board? Is there anything that, that you don't need anymore? Right. Sometimes we don't even think of what can I offload because we think we have to do it all. And please, if you are listening to this and you still think like that, let's work on that. Okay. We don't need to do it all. Zero. We are not. Somebody called me. Oh, it was my husband. And I have that for another episode, but he called me Superwoman one day as I was basically holding it all together and doing all the things for all the people. And I was like, motherfucker, no, I no longer, I would have taken that like a badge of honor, super excited. People used to say that to me way back in the day when my big kids were little and I was juggling all the balls in the air. And I took it like, hell yeah, I'm doing this. Look at me doing all this, not asking for help, doing it all by myself. That is a recipe for burnout. So let's not go there. Okay. Ask for the help, get the support, whatever you need to do to get this going and be really successful at it. All right. Last question is, what are you going to do when something derails you? Because let's face it, something is going to derail you. Somebody's going to get sick. I feel like my whole summer was a derail. It just was. And if you have this all or nothing mindset, which most of the women I work with, it is this black and white, all or nothing. If I didn't do this 100%, it is just a fail. And then it takes you down the spiral. And then it's several months before you even get back up and try again, right? We don't need that. It's not helpful. It doesn't serve you. So what will you do when something derails you? And having a plan for that, knowing I'm going to get derailed. This is not going to be perfect. None of it is. Nothing ever is. Like, reflect back. 0 things ever go as we 100% plan. So if you can have a plan for that and have okay, I'm ready for this. I know that something was going to go awry. I know, and here's how I'm going to handle it. That could look like, so for instance, next week, and this isn't awry, I'm planning for it, but my husband is going to be traveling and it's the second week of school. I'm going to look at, okay, how can I conserve my energy because I will be the only, and what can I do? Food is always my worst thing. So how can I cut the corners and maybe have things already pre-done this weekend? He's going to do, because we have a long weekend. It's Labor Day is coming up here. How can I have him prepare maybe the meats, talk about that capsule cooking, and then I can make it in a variety of ways, looking ahead and seeing what are the things we have in the evening and really just planning so that I don't get derailed. Now, let me tell you, something is going to happen next week. I just know it. Something always. There is a thing. Okay. And something will go. How do I want to be when that happens? Am I going to have a complete, I won't have a complete meltdown. I don't have that anymore. Because I just know that things go wrong and I'm not going to let it get in my way. So kind of taking it to your baseline of, what does movement look like? What does sleep look like? How can you constrict and conserve to make sure that you're doing kind of the best with what you have? Okay? But making a plan for that and making a plan mostly in your mindset about what you're going to do. Because if you're just like, fuck it, this didn't work. I had a whole plan and this happened and it didn't work. Well, then you're fucked for like a month or two, right? So just know that you're going to have a couple good days. You might have a couple good weeks, but something is going to go a little wonky and you're going to have to be like, all right, that's fine. That happened. And in 3 days from now, when this person no longer has a fever and I'm not cleaning up the vomit everywhere because, they're going back to school and they're going to get all those little lovely germies, then it's like, okay, I'm going to get back to exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to go back to my class. It's going to take some inertia. You got to do it, right? And you just got to know this is going to be uncomfortable again because I had a good thing going and now something went wrong, and it's going to take that sort of overcoming of it. But if you know that's going to happen, that's just part of it, right? It's totally 100% just part of it. Not a big deal. So don't make it a big deal. Okay. All right. In all of this, that is all the sort of questions I have to pose for you. I also want you to consider, what does it look like? These are all like the things that we have to do to be able to maintain the level of sanity in life, right? Okay. But how can you make things fun? How can you create the enjoyment and lightness and reflecting back over the last 6-7 months? Are you doing the things that you want to be doing? Maybe you did I was looking at my bingo card. I did the bingo episode. If you want to look back, that was in January of 2025. And I have done a lot of the things, and it made me so happy because that was the bingo card episode. That was one where it's like, all right, these are not just goals. These are fun things, exciting things that are out of the ordinary that you want to be infusing into your life. So how can you create space for enjoyment and fun? And it might be small spaces, but not just taking things so seriously and rigid. And because sometimes when you're like getting back to it or starting again or whatever the fuck term you want to use, there's it's very stiff and I have to do it this way. Have some fucking fun. Okay. Put some fun in your life, create some enjoyment and lightness, and make sure that that is part of your routine. I like to play I'm not doing drop off right now, but when I do drop off, especially if the morning went to absolute shit, I usually play fun songs on the way to school, like Taylor Swift's Shake It Off. There's Nappy Roots, A Good Day. And they kind of roll their eyes a little bit, but my oldest, she'll get on with me. But the younger one is sort of like wants to sit in her icky feeling, kind of how I am a little bit too. But it does. They like leave differently. So how can you create the space of just not taking things so seriously? Because, we're here for a short bit. And everything doesn't need to be so serious. Set yourself up to not be like stressed out all the time, but just have fun with life. Have fun with it. This is coming from a person who fun is not natural to me. So you might have to work at it because that doesn't come natural to me. Hence why I'm telling you, because it is something that I have to work on. All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome to season 3. If you love this, I would really appreciate if you shared it, give a review on Apple or Spotify. And if this was helpful for you, I'd love to hear how or what it is that you're going to be doing. Maybe this sparked something in you. I love it when people send me messages or texts, DMs. Yeah. All right. Thank you. And I will see you next time. Spirit of a Badass is a Lit Path Studios podcast and is produced by Jamie Gale and Alecia Jacobson. Music by Shane Ivers. We'll be back with another inspiring interview. Until then, keep your spirits high and your energy badass.